So one of the first questions that people always ask when they're setting up a home gym is, what sort of cardio equipment should I get? So let's run down the top 4 list of what you should be buying to put in your home gym to get the most health and fitness benefit and the most bang for your buck. So in 4th place, we have the Bike Erg, and we recommend the Concept 2 Bike Erg. Great piece of equipment, one of the newest additions to the Concept 2 lineup. The reason this comes in at 4th and not further up the list is that it is very specific. And of course, the law of specificity tells us that if you do lots of cycling, you'll get good at cycling, which is great if you want to be good at cycling, but for overarching and far-reaching health benefits, not potentially the best way to be using that valuable space on your home gym floor. So that moves us up to number 3 on our list of the top 4 pieces of cardio equipment for your home gym. And in 3rd place, we have the rower. Again, we recommend a Concept 2 rower. The rower is a great piece of equipment. It's got a very small footprint when it is stored vertically in its upright position, though it does take up a little bit more room when it is in use. The reason that the rower comes in at 3rd and not further up the list is, again, it's not a complete full body workout. So it's great for your posterior chain, it's great for your ability to generate power through the hamstrings, through the lower back, and there's a very dominant pulling upper body motion. And this is great, but used in isolation, if you're using this and nothing else, it can cause some imbalances and some postural defects that are commonly seen in people who do a lot of rowing. If you're coupling the rowing with a movement that is a bit more anterior chain dominant, like some form of squat, and a little bit more press dominant, like some form of push-up or dip or some sort of weighted press, it can be a really good tool. But used in isolation, it comes in at number 3rd on our list. Coming in at number 2 is the Ski Erg. Now, the Ski Erg is a great piece of equipment. Very small footprint. It can be mounted to the wall when in use, and when not in use, doesn't take up much space at all. One of the things we love about the Ski Erg is, although it's not as dominant for the lower body, which is why it's not sitting at number 1, it is still posterior chain dominant, because your ability to return from your hip or trunk flexed position back to standing, that deflection of the spine and that extension of the hip, is going to involve your posterior chain. There is also a hip flexion and a trunk flexion element to this, as you're generating the power on the way down in your stroke. In terms of the upper body, it's a great tool. There are elements of both press and pull-based movements. So at the first part of that ski stroke, it'll be very lat dominant. A lot of lower back is going to be working, which is more of that sort of pull-based muscle group that we talk about. And then as you finish your stroke, as you sort of lock out at the end of your stroke, it brings in almost like part of a dip. And again, if your technique is efficient here, you shouldn't fatigue the upper body too much, but there is a great upper body recruitment pattern in the ski. So coming in at number 1 is the air bike. The air bike for us is number 1 on the list of the best tools to improve general cardiovascular conditioning. The air bike is great because if we look at the different parts of the body that are being used in the air bike, it really is a bit of everything. From a lower body perspective, anterior and posterior chain dominant. From an upper body perspective, you are both pushing and pulling on those handles as you go. There's another added benefit to this in that there is no rest or recovery phase. If we look at some of the other options we've spoken about, the row and the ski in particular, there's a hard concentric phase on the way down, but there's very little eccentric, and there's a chance for you to stop and recover a little bit as you're doing that recovery to your stroke, either forward on your row or back up to the top on your ski. The air bike just doesn't have this, not for the upper body, not for the lower body. There is no recovery. Because of this, the difficulty goes up, and therefore the benefit goes up to a large degree as well. Huge benefits to the number of muscle groups being used, the type of muscle contractions, the lack of recovery phase in there, and it's also great over a huge range of different time domains. It's a great tool for building short-term phosphocreatine power type work. You can do intervals as short as 5 seconds to develop power. You can do the more glycolytic or oxidative intervals, and then you can do long, slower stuff as well. So huge scope for the energy systems used and the benefits that you can get from it. So there you have it, our top 4 list of the best cardio equipment to get. Make sure you choose things that are going to be appropriate to you and what you are looking for. But in terms of most bang for your buck, and overall impact for health and fitness. Our top is the air bike. That would be our recommendation.